to now. I cannot believe your head is heavy in your hand. It's all missed opportunity. Conversations, and I know what you're really thinking of. They're only words that keep us from getting closer together. Skin is soft, but sometimes touch is rough. You're gonna run to now. I cannot believe your head is heavy in your hand. It's all missed opportunity.
Show on stage podcast, and we have some very, very, very great band members here. And I'm going to get rid of this light. You never believe this, but tomorrow we celebrate our Canada Day, July 1st, but they are already celebrating Australian Day, July 1st. They are actually 14 hours ahead. They're from Australia, the Deon Powter Band.
Woo!
Woohoo! Oh. Hello there. So we have...
Hello.
We have Deon Powter on, he's the actual front man and back man and upside down man, if you want to call him. Charles Eddy on drums, Corey Olson on bass, and we have Ryan Crurup on keys, and this group, hello Ryan, hello Deon, Corey, this group, their influences span the decades, including the Beatles, Eric Clapton, wow, Jimi Hendrix, James Taylor, Jackson Browne, Running on Empty Guy, and Crowded House, my favorite, and the one person we wish would, hopefully... What is that all about?
I don't know.
Was that on your side, Corey? What is that?
Not sure.
I don't have any idea. Okay. Sorry to interrupt everyone. Don't know what that was, but yes. And so Sting, John Mayer, Paul Kelly, and my favorite, Ron Sexsmith. So hello, everyone, Deon Powter Band. Can you give us a little bit of a backstory of how you, well, we know it started by Deon Powter, but how did you guys find each other and create this wonderful band?
Well, there's a drummer also with us. His name's Charles, and Charles and I were playing shows around Brisbane, and we got together every now and then to have a hit out for covers gigs. And then I showed him some of my original stuff that he really liked, and we'd play that at duo gigs because he sings great harmonies. And then a few years later, we did some festivals, and then the band, the songs got some attention. Not so much the band, but the songs did. So that gave us heart, and we continued on to make a three-piece. And we had a bass player for hire almost. And the bass player for hire knew Corey. So we introduced Corey to the band, which we're very grateful for. But before that, Ryan...
I'm very grateful too.
Yeah. And Ryan, I know because he lives very close to me, and he's lived in this area his whole life. He's very well connected. I'm a bit of a gypsy. So I knew a couple of people that Ryan knew, and before long we ran into each other. I really liked his style, which is the main reason why anyone's in the band, because if they're a cool dude, it doesn't matter how good they are as a musician. They're just in the band. Not that that's a slight on anybody. Not that that's a slight on anybody's playing, but the most important thing is the culture of the band. Anyway, sorry guys. Yeah. So and that's how it came to be.
And with that sort of influence, we couldn't say no, really.
I say, hey, you guys are cool guys. Why don't you play this instrument? I think Ryan's the only one who's really proficient in the instrument that he plays. The rest of us are just part-timers on the instruments we play in the band.
Well, we're very sad that
Yeah.
Charles Eddie couldn't be here because he plays the drums, but I'm pretty sure he's felt.
Yes.
Watch this later.
Oh,
So glad that you are here. Yes. Someone want to say something here? Okay.
oh, yeah. Having the vibe of everyone on stage is just unreal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Charles was a very big part of that as well.
Yeah. So you think that your music is like the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix? No, I'm just kidding. So, and you've been playing for quite a number of years as well. And you have a new album called Headwaters.
Yeah, so the album, the band's new album is Headwaters. It came out on the 31st of May. And our influences, I mean, my influences, they're mainly my influences, but they're mainly guitar singer-songwriters. Ron Sexsmith is a fantastic singer-songwriter. He's so good. Get in Line is a great tune, and Whatever It Takes, they're a couple of my favorite songs. He's an amazing, he constructs amazing melodies and plays guitar very interestingly. And I really like his vibe.
Yeah, I actually like those two songs. Imperfection and Wolf in the Hills are excellent. I'm thinking, wow, this they're certainly definitely correct when they say that they're like James Taylor, and especially Ron Sexsmith. I actually like a lot of his music. So yeah, around those really excellent. So on stage you say that your live show is exciting, spontaneous, and not to be missed. And you have experienced decades of combined behind you, and everyone you like playing your songs in front of a live audience. So what is that like for you? What's the best moment that you've had playing your songs in front of people? What sort of excitement, what sort of emotional experience are you wanting to get from the audience?
I think it's a back and forth of like, sorry, that's I'll talk. When it's back and forth from the audience having that good time. I mean, we sort of get into the songs because we love them, and then we look around at each other, and each person is just loving it, and we can tell that when we're having fun, the audience is having fun too. So it means that we get to jam out and have a great time and play these cool songs for people who will sit and actually really love what we're doing. And yeah, it's a reciprocal back and forth thing.
Now, is there a pre-show ritual that you have? Like some people go like, and they kind of do jumping jacks, whatever, or do you have a sort of drink that you like to drink? You don't eat pizza before. I've learned that.
The last gig that we did was up at Beerwah, and the pre-show ritual there was shake hands with the new drummer because Charles is had surgery and he's not with us at the moment. So we hadn't met the drummer we were playing with last weekend. So the ritual was getting to know
and wish him happy birthday.
Yeah, wish him a happy birthday. Bless him.
Yeah, happy birthday. Obviously, if it was my birthday and I had to play a gig, I call, excuse me, sorry, it's my birthday. I'm not playing today. Get somebody else to replace me for that show.
Well, he didn't know it was his birthday. We told him it was his birthday. So.
He found out as we were explaining it to the audience. Yeah.
We told the audience it was his birthday, and it was 300 against 1. So what's he going to do?
Yeah, I still have a friend I've known for 30 some odd years, and he still forgets my birthday. But there are people that hardly ever know me, and they're calling me like at 1:30 in the morning. Say, I wanted to be the first one to wish you a happy birthday. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Even one of my brothers thinks that my birthday was on my dad's birthday, which is March 17th. But I'm like, okay, sure. Hey, it's March 17th. It's March 15th, but it's March 17th.
But I really think that question about what it feels like on stage,
I
think Corey should answer that.
Corey.
Oh, wow. So I'm the Energizer Bunny for the group. I jump up and down I can't help moving to the music, and I think it's the connection of energy between the band and the audience. I think that's the most special thing that you can't get from anywhere else but live music. And it's something that I strive for every time, to just be on point, so we can deliver that, so the audience gets something, so they can give something back to us.
Yeah. So do
That's
both
my
of you?
take on it.
And how about you, Deon? What kind of feeling do you get? Because you're the front man and you're the singer. So I know, being a singer myself, that you get some sort of rush because everyone's focused on you, not necessarily on the.
That's right. No, it's a mixture. You know, if it's an original performance, I might even go somewhere and disappear and try and get in control of myself, so I can make the most of the hour to 2 hours that we have on stage. But we haven't played on stage more than a handful of times together. The band, in terms of having like a stage hours together, it's not as many as you would think. And everything's great on stage. We sound amazing. I'm very, very happy with the sound of the band. I'm so grateful that everyone's playing the tunes, and we do sound very good at the moment. But I have a lot of anxiety that I have to deal with, and it manifests itself in different ways pre-show. But the guys have learnt that I'm a little bit crazy, and they just deal with that, I think. But maybe I'm manifesting something that isn't there. I don't know. But I do feel like it's you do have to get on top of and be in control of, so you can be present. All of your all the rest of the voices in your head telling you, what the hell are you doing up here? But if it's a cover show, I couldn't care less. No. I'm very relaxed at a cover show.
Who here doesn't need to really do an audition? Like, who here can just suddenly show up and start playing? Like, how about you, Corey? Can you just pick up the bass and start playing, or do you have to do a little bit of practice here and there?
Oh, I've got to do the practice for the bass. It's not my home instrument. I play keys normally, but so with this music, with these songs that Deon has crafted, they're not just a root note kind of bass line. They're melodic lines. So it's intricate practice. It's diving deep into the music and yeah, it's listening all the time, trying to get, what's that little bit there? And
because Deon's a bass player to start with, like the two of them have to work so hard to get it perfect. They're so good at what they do.
Yeah, so it takes its time, but it's worthwhile because it informs all the other playing that I do. So it's not a chore. It's something that invigorates.
For the album, all of the drums, all of the other instruments are taken off the bass part, because that, like, I'll write the song on acoustic guitar, but then I'll do the bass part. I might do 87 takes for the bass part, which I've done before. I've probably done more, but I'll admit to 87. Wow. And then the reason something is doing something else is because the bass is doing that. I've thought about it a lot. So it's when Corey adds a lot of his own personality into the tunes, but when those key moments get played, the music goes bing, and it's just all elevated. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Corey, do you become
it's such a good vibe.
Corey, do you become a different person with that bass in your hands? I'm sorry?
I just lost the audio for a sec, but becoming a different person, I become a different person when I'm on stage, absolutely. Shy and unassuming, and but on stage, the word that's been thrown around is Energizer Bunny. So yeah, I can't stand still.
Yeah, we'll workshop that name. I'm not a huge. It doesn't exactly. It's not exactly right.
Yeah.
It's a bit.
Yeah.
I can't think of what the word is. It's a bit derivative of what you do. You're more than. We'll have to get a different word for it, a different name for it.
Sharon says,
Yep.
greetings.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Greetings from the U.S.
Oh, awesome.
Um,
And
So
Ryan's
three
a
countries,
consummate. Ryan's such a professional. He on stage, he's got great straight stage craft. He's super aware, and he'll pick up some percussion or yeah.
I'm just lucky that when it comes to the parts, particularly in Headwaters, that Deon's not a keyboardist first. Unlike Corey, where he has to sort of minefield his way through these like really intricate bass parts, because everything has been meticulously put around the bass parts. The keyboards are there because they work off the bass. So there's much more room for me to explore, which is sort of code for make it up as I go along a lot of times. But we get to find then that middle ground of the important stuff, which needs to be there, versus what I can bring my interpretive sort of parts to. And because I'm a keyboarder first, and that's what I get to play in this band, luckily, I can take that and then expand and make it different and make it my own, and not feel that I'm boxed in or let loose too much. I have a nice middle ground. It's good.
which one of you not only feel like, which one of you don't want to be bothered when you're playing your craft? Like Corey, when you're playing the bass and Ryan or Deon start talking to you, you're like, hey, I'm in the vibe, or do you like stop playing and say, yeah? Are you like that?
Are you talking in rehearsals?
Yeah, in rehearsal, people bothering you, like one of you guys bothering each other while you're playing. Like, I know some people get so obsessed
Well,
with
never
their
really a
work.
bother.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think we're also used to playing covers gigs where, you know, people will come up and start screaming a request at you halfway through the middle of a normal other song, and you have to have a conversation with them to either say, oh yeah, we can do that, or no, leave us alone, while continuing to play. We kind of get used to sort of the conversations mid-song. I think it makes it a bit easier.
And everybody has a full life outside of the band. So if we get together and rehearse, that's 2 or 3 hours that we've kind of stolen off the planet. So we tend to make sure we're having a good time. There's no stress. It's not like we're the Police getting together and rehearsing. It's not like that. The band, the Police, if you've ever seen those guys rehearse, there's some footage where Sting's telling the drummer to stop playing and he calls him some very nasty words. We're not like that. No.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about the Police, I know that Stuart Copeland, when he played the drums, he didn't like really Sting that much. So when he played the cymbals, kind of were in a way that he didn't have to see Sting on stage because they never got along.
Stuart Copeland is a special individual, a great drummer. I think he'd be hard to get along with anyway. This is going on the internet. Sorry, Stuart.
Well, Sharon says that she loves rehearsal time because she's also a singer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So what instrument did you start playing before you decided upon your chosen? Like, Corey, what about you? What was it always the bass?
You want a complete history?
What was the first instrument you played, man?
I started singing, and then I did air drums and air guitar. But then I started with tuba and trombone and drums. And then I progressed to keyboards, and then I stuck with keyboards for a very long time. And throughout all that time, I was slowly trying to pick up guitar just to do the chunky chord rhythm kind of stuff, and I could never get it right. So it's sort of an ongoing thing where I just pick it up occasionally, get a few chords, and go like that. But then I picked up saxophone because I started teaching at a school where there was no one else, and they needed saxophone, clarinet, flute, and everything. Had to outsource a couple of them, but yeah, I stuck with keyboards, and then I picked up bass in the last maybe 8 years, and it was very much a case of we got a role to fill. How about you try this? And then I grew to love the being at the low end. and it's and it's a struggle between which do I like more now, between keyboards and bass.
And what about you, Ryan?
All the others.
So what about you, Ryan? Was it
For
always
me, I started on the organ, so like the 2 manual and pedals sort of style.
Wow.
Did that for a long time and went into piano from there. I sort of had tangents into drums and into acoustic guitar and stuff like that for different other gigs and different other bands, and I did the whole euphonium trombone sort of thing all the way through high school, all of that, but came back to keyboards for my first love and stayed there, and it's my main one now.
Wow, trombone. Oh.
Yeah.
It's a cool instrument.
Trombone.
That was my
I
first
was never as
instrument
proficient as
And you're allowed
I was a dog with a bone. The musical went to the Queensland government about, I don't know, 1996 or something. 2000.
I played in the Parkstown Band trombone for a few years.
Wow.
That was my first.
Maybe we should do a trombone quartet then.
Yeah.
Yes. Why not?
Piccolo
We've got a
trombone.
whiteboard that says why not? That's now at the top of that list.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the band Why Not?
Yeah. We could do it like, I don't think I have a bass trombone, but I know a guy sat next to me. His name was Izzy. He had a glass eye. So he wasn't reading music. He was just playing bass trombone. And then a trombonist next to me was my brother's best friend. And I would watch what he was doing and just play by ear and pretend I was reading music. And it sounded like something. It sounded great. It got to a point where I wasn't making mistakes. And I don't know how that was happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how that was happening.
What do you think of the strengths that you need to become a good musician?
Well, I've got a positive feedback loop. Yeah. So I think I've got a theory where people say, wow, you're really talented. And I think about that. I go, it's not talent. It's just a positive feedback loop for rehearsal. Like if I practice, I'm getting something back from it. So I can't not do it. So I love doing it. So I get better at it. That's pretty much what I think it is. You've got to love practicing. Otherwise, you won't get anywhere.
Yeah, but somebody you meet on the street say, I want to make you a musician. Isn't going to really, like, you have to, it's inbred in you. You have to grow into it. Like,
yeah, you've got to enjoy it. Like, and if you were 3 or 4 and you were singing along to the radio, and then you were 5 and 6 and tappy tap tap on something, you just got to enjoy it. Yeah, I think talent isn't in your blood so much. It's just I believe it's a nurture thing. I don't think you're born with. You might be born with an ability to understand things quickly, but I think
that's the thing. Like, because I teach kids and stuff about music and how to play music, and one of my big things for them is to find something in music that they love, because you're not going to sit down on a drum kit and smash out the first time. Someone might, but then you might pick up the flute and play that, and someone might be able to do that, and musician for 30 years couldn't get a sound.
Yeah,
I think it's more about going, well, do you like this thing? Then you can nurture it, and you can have the practice and time and go, well, like for me, like I'm okay at trombone for a few years, but it's never as good as anything else because I wouldn't have the time or the effort or the perseverance to get through playing it. Wouldn't have the interest. So
would it be hilarious if Charles was a trombonist?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
He plays everything else, yeah.
We can start our next gig with the 4 of us around one microphone doing like some 4-part harmonies and then go into
like
the actual song.
Unfortunately, couldn't make it to this, but he'll be watching this back later going, I play trombone. I play trombone too.
And why not? That's not a bad name for it. Okay, guys, the Deon Powter Band would be called the Why Nots. This is very interesting, Corey. I'm going to talk to you about this. I was talking about how young do you have to be a good musician? Well, you ever heard of Ellen Alaverdian? Ellen Alaverdian? She's a 10-year-old bass player, and she's really good. Really good.
she's great friends with like Victor Wooten. Her father is a guitar player.
Yes.
And but if you look at her videos, she's also a fantastic artist.
Yes. Yes.
Well, her gift is absorbing information quickly. She had the choice of any instrument, and the way that her parents are teaching her to do anything, it's really hands off and super encouraging. And she just liked the bass, like Ryan was saying. She liked the bass, but she is gifted in the terms of she's a sponge for information, but also she has a maturity beyond her age to want to express herself. And she knows she has a thought about the world around her and a want to express that. And I think that's rare, to be able to interpret the world in like very quickly and have an understanding, and then have a reference against how you feel, especially so young. And then you create art inside yourself, and then she pushes it out. So she's an amalgamation of different types of things, and a deep understanding, an emotional understanding, and a logical understanding of the world. But she's a sponge for information, and she's got great supportive parents.
Oh, yes. But do you think there's going to become a time when she gets older that she's going to say, you know what, the bass isn't for me, or I don't want to do it anymore? Or because when you're a kid, you can mold them into what you want to be. Like the feeling, like when I was her age, 10 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. Am I an astronaut? I wanted to be a doctor when I was 11. Am I a doctor? No. When I got to the point 16, 17 years old, I said, well, I want to be a computer programmer. It wasn't until 10, 15 years ago when I decided I wanted to be a tenor. I wanted to be a singer. So I decided to take vocal lessons, but I was starting late. I wish I was like 5, 6 years old. I see like 4-year-old, beautiful, the 4-year-old drummer. Excellent. Better than any of the. So I wish I'd started young, but hey, never too old.
And that's, if you remove all of the expectations, which is a track on Headwaters, but if you remove all the expectations out of, yeah, thanks, man. If you remove all the expectations out of what you're meant to do with your life, and if she's playing that instrument for enjoyment, and she decides to go sideways into interior decorating, her parents are going to be just as supportive. There's a lot of stigma around music and musicians, and that's obviously around incredible potential for income. But that's back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. A lot of that's gone now, and musicians are playing music because they want to. And these musicians that are coming through now are brilliant because there's no expectation on them. Mateo is there's these fusion players that are been sitting on their beds. They're better than I'll ever be in terms of a guitar player, and their understanding of music is fantastic. But they've spent that time practicing and not trying to go out and make a business of it.
I think that's the thing, is being able to sort of go, yeah, I'll have that idea of playing music for a living, but as long as you're enjoying it, it doesn't really matter whether you are playing at Wembley or you're playing in your garage. Like, that's, I always try and teach sort of kids playing music, is like, it doesn't matter if you're amazing or whether you are a terrible warbly singer, but if you're having a great time doing it, even if you're singing karaoke in your backyard, who cares? Like, if you're having it and you're engaging with music and you're engaging with that creativity, then you've won. It's if you're looking for the income after it, that's a different ball game. Because there's always someone more talented. There's always someone willing to put in hard yards and time and effort and money and whatever else. But if you're having fun and you're loving it, you've won.
That's what Dave Grohl, right? He says the same thing. So just get some guys in the garage and start hitting things.
Yeah, people will love what they love. And if they, the masses find your music and they love it, then more power to you. If they don't, and you're still playing those songs and you're still having a great time, the audience will find you eventually.
If you're not saying something with the music as art, if you compare that to classical musicians who train 5 to 7 hours a day, and then when you go and see an orchestra, in a proper environment, you know, the dynamics, the control, the teamwork, their skill, the piece of music, the conductor, that's undeniable. That's almost perfection. That's human perfection, and that's a celebration. That should be the benchmark. And those guys are
more
amazing.
about, for them, it's the mood, like the mood of the whole band and the audience, because generally when you go and see an orchestra, you're not there for necessarily the musician as such. You're there for the piece of music they're playing a lot of the times. So you are part of the mass. You're giving it to the audience. In the rock music, it's different, but it's still about creating that mood with the audience and being able to have that connection.
Yeah, that's true. My friend Sharon says that she loves the song "The Light." I love the song "The Light" too. Now she followed you on Spotify, and Sharon Priscilla, she actually knows quite a lot of big name musicians, which will eventually be getting on pretty soon. So,
well, Sharon,
tell us about "The Light."
Yeah, the song "The Light" was written. I kind of, you know, we have ups and downs as people, and I was at a down, and I'm writing a song. I wanted to write a song that was, you know, this part of the curve here, where you start coming back up. Because there's a lot of songs about being at the bottom or going to the bottom, and they just seem to be a point in time, and it's almost like a cage. But the light is the updraft. It's, you know, the accelerating out of the corner. It's here we go. You know, there's always hope. Yeah, that song is really special to me. There's a line in that song that goes, "There's a picture that I keep inside my head." And it's actually a picture that I keep beside my bed. And it's me as a 4-year-old. And it brings me through the shadows, because if I'm having trouble, I mean, just get a little bit deep for a second. If I'm having trouble liking myself or loving myself, I look at the picture and I love that guy. Who doesn't love their 4-year-old self? Like, what a cutie, right? So I kind of cheat myself a little bit there and go, no, I got to look after this guy. And then I treat myself with a little bit more respect. And if you can treat yourself with respect and love yourself, and then if you can love each other, and then if you love and understand the planet, they're the 3 things that I live by.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, yeah, "The Light" was an excellent one, and I want to talk about the song "Imperfection." That was a good song as well. How did you come up with that? Because the sound is excellent. I love the sound.
Thank you so much. I was listening to a lot of. Sorry, you go, Corey.
I was just about to say, just a little snippet before you start off, Deon. For me, getting the music, it felt like it happened really quickly from our perspective in terms of I've got this idea to here's the song. But yeah, off you go, Deon.
So that "Imperfection" song, I was listening to some Billie Eilish at the time, and I noticed, you know, she had broken a lot of rules, a lot of musical rules. And I thought, well, what if I started breaking some musical rules? And I came up with that guitar groove, which is just, it's parallel fourths. It's that sound, which doesn't make sense musically. Well, it does. It's a jazz chord, I guess, but you wouldn't play it across the whole tune, which we do in "Imperfection." And the light and the light of that song and the source of that song is what Ryan's doing. Yeah, the synth parts. But in terms of a message, learning to love all the imperfection was a very COVID thought. You know, people were saying things, like the governments were saying things, but slow to act. But that's understandable. But people are upset, so you just got to muck in and do your best, and don't let perfect get in the way of good.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why "Imperfection" and "Wolves in the Hills" were done sort of like a cartoony type comic, but "The Light" was done as a normal, like girls rollerblading and dancing and stuff. So what was the actual gimmick there?
There's not so much. There's no budget involved in those videos, Chris. To be honest, it's just me downloading free videos and cutting them up on my phone, editing them on my phone. So I think, I think those anime ones are awesome. "Imperfection," I was very, very happy with that. Very happy with that. I think that was almost perfect for that tune. And "Wolves in the Hills," I wanted a story where someone was leaning on somebody, and that the girl in that story definitely was relying on that guy to save her. Not that people need saving, but the sentiment exists that you need somebody there who's got your back. You know, if somebody's got your back or you've got somebody's back, that's humanity. I remember the first time I thought about how I'm affected by humanity. One of the first times I witnessed was that, you know, that movie, My Captain Sees the Day.
Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society. Thanks, Brian gets a pick of the board. Dead Poets Society, and they all stand up on their tables and they say, "Captain, my captain," because he's leaving. You know, the people who create the rules aren't allowing him to participate anymore. He's too much of a dreamer, and these guys are all set to become part of the machine. But the time that teacher spent with them has given them at least a little bit of a dreamer, a little bit of optimism, a little bit of humanity and hope. And as he was leaving, when they all stood up on those chairs, on those tables, I was a mess. I was bawling because he's affected those kids and he's helped them with their lives. So so that's kind of.
Yeah, they're actually really good. Imperfection. It's got a vibe to it. I don't know which one I like better, Imperfection or Wolves in the Hills. I'm like, wow, I love this Deon Powter Band, you know?
Cool.
And,
yeah. That's the other thing about the tunes. You can just groove to them if you want. That's cool. But if you listen to them 4 or 5 times, hear the lyrics, maybe there's something in it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Replayability to them.
Hey, Corey, remember that scene in Back to the Future where Marty McFly is... Is that something you can do?
Yeah. No. not on the guitar, no way.
What player are you?
Obscure references for 300.
Not hiring you.
Well, Marty McFly's playing a 335. Isn't it a Gibson 335 that he's playing? Chuck Berry's guitar?
Yeah, Chuck Berry,
Yeah, I'm not that good on the guitar. No.
I remember being terribly shocked that you know, it wasn't that had a white guy write that song. I thought that was funny.
So do you compete against other bassists, or do you compete, Ryan, against other keyboardists? Do you have like a keyboardist convention where you're all like playing the keyboard and doing like a choir thing, or?
No, I compete against myself, which is a formidable opponent most of the times, to be honest. But yeah, I'm competing against myself to try and make sure that I feel like my place is on stage, keeping up my end of the bargain. So far that I'm even like going to be buying myself a guitar just to be even more cool on stage.
Yes.
So
yes. Please do. Please do.
if I'm going to do 80s synth parts like an Imperfection, I need to have a guitar and look what's on the cards. So
I have to write some more songs with guitar in it.
Absolutely.
There's already like at least 3 in the ether of the world in all of music, so 4 or 5 shouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I like it.
Who would you like to collaborate with as a band or as individual, or who would you like to have in your band for that one night? Anybody particular? Okay, like Ron Sexsmith, maybe, definitely, but
I'd play bass for Ron Sexsmith. I'd play guitar with him, maybe. I'd let him sing. They're his songs.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, and you can approach it different ways. Have you guys got a thought on that while I collect mine?
I think if I was going to play keys...
I didn't hear the start of the question.
I was in like, who would you like to play with, or would you like to, you know, collaborate with musically? Like for me, I think like if I was going to play keys for someone and play backing keys for them, someone like Jackson Browne would be perfect. If it was purely egotistical and I wanted to be on stage with someone just so I could watch them and watch them up close, be Barry Gibb. If I wanted to have fun, I'd be part of the E Street Band with Springsteen.
Awesome.
There
How
you
about
go.
you, Corey? How about you, Corey? Who would you like to how about this? Okay, starting with each individual. We're starting with Corey. Corey, so which bass player would you like to be collaborating with on stage, just you and them?
probably it's a hard choice between Sting or Victor Wooten.
Oh,
for very different reasons. Wooten for being with the bass, and Sting for the showmanship side of it. And yeah, I think that's where I'd be sitting.
how about you, Ryan? I'm thinking maybe you and Howard Jones, maybe.
Maybe I think purely piano stuff. I mean, my favorite piano player would be probably. I'm trying to think. The pianist for like I'm completely mind blank, of course. The pianist for the E Street Band, with Springsteen stuff. The things that he comes up with are brilliant. And of course, he played with Dire Straits, and he played with everyone along the way as well. Like "Tunnel of Love" from Dire Straits is one of the greatest piano parts I've ever heard. And like because I know that Springsteen's incredible when he's writing all of his parts individually as well. I think probably doing that with him.
Yeah, you have quite an extensive kind of. I like pianists. We had Richie Rosenberg, La Bamba, who was in Conan O'Brien's group, and Bruce Springsteen's band as well. And I would think I would pair him with you. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting. And how about you, Deon? Who would you like to collaborate with? Sting, maybe.
I can't choose one, but at the moment, I guess. I mean, Madison Cunningham.
Oh yeah.
Neil Finn from Crowded House.
Yeah,
I love the Finn brothers. Neil Finn's a really good
Great
singer.
songwriter. Great songwriter.
I was a big Split Ends fan.
Oh,
I think
unreal.
I think probably those two, because they're still alive, so that's good.
Yeah. For me, as
Roy Bittan, by the way, is the piano player. I looked him up. Roy Bittan. Sorry, I had to do it. My brain was gone. I had to find him.
Who's that piano player?
well, as a tenor, I would definitely want to collaborate with Josh Groban or Andrea Bocelli. So basically, that's high and mighty right there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there, besides musicians, like, which musicians really inspire you to continue? Like, you would listen to a song, and you say, okay, and then makes you want to move on. Like, do you have a particular interest? Like it says that you literally like Crowded House, Neil Finn. You got Sting, John Mayer, Paul Kelly, Ron Sexsmith. Is there anyone there particularly, like Eric Clapton, even that actually, and James Taylor actually inspire you, or do they all inspire you?
If you listen to Headwaters, the album from start to finish, there's not really one particular genre in there that it leans into. So I don't have one particular. I'm inspired by lots of different things in terms of there's external inspiration for the reason why I want to write. And then there's, for instance, Imperfection. I was inspired by Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah. Like, how can she's probably a third my age or something, or half my age. But
I'm not sure. But she has a brother, Phineas O'Donnell. He's actually a pretty good, prolific songwriter as well. I like his music.
Well, they both work together fantastically. I was watching an interview, and she had cut a 40 different takes of a vocal in it was like 12 bars or something. Every word was a different take. Those guys just sit in their bedroom. They sat in their bedroom and did that all day, and they're brilliant at it.
Yeah. I realize. I heard of Louis Capaldi. He's got what is called Tourette syndrome, and apparently it's hard for him to actually play music on the stage. And there was an incident a couple of weeks ago where one of his fans kind of helped him get through it. But I found out that Billie Eilish actually has Tourette syndrome as well. And when you have a disability, and you still have to continue, like for instance, when the drummer from Def Leppard lost his arm, he didn't stop playing drums. You ever seen him play drums with one arm? I mean, don't just because you do music, no matter what happens, you can still do it. Just don't give up because I only have one arm. How can I play the drums? We'll figure out a way, you know.
If you want to do it, do it, you'll do it. Yeah.
So when you have a gig,
find a way.
When you have a gig, Deon, when and you're all supposed to be there on stage, and then suddenly you wake up in the morning, you got laryngitis. Do you cancel the gig, or do you just? How do you do it then? If you can't sing?
Well, I had surgery on last Friday, and I was on stage on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We were there. We were there to back up. We were there to back up, so we can all sing. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. We got you, man.
Yeah, and if I've got a head cold, I just sing with a strepsil in my mouth. It's fine.
Wow. Talk about resiliency. Amazing.
Yeah, it's either resilient or anger. Well, some people call it silly. It's what I got to do.
Yeah. So what is the best piece of advice that anybody's ever given you? Was it bad advice or was it good advice?
Wow. I have to sit and think of that one for a second.
Do as I do, not as I say. My father.
Why not?
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to listen to your father. You got to listen to your mother. You got to listen to those because if they have, like, even with my own father, he gave me advice, but I didn't need it until after he passed. Some of his advice had to do with things that I'm doing nowadays. So it's like, drive the car and watch out for other cars. Well, I didn't get my license so recently, so it's like, okay, well, I can take that. I can take that now.
I left home when I was 14. My dad wasn't a great example of his advice was do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah.
I did everything that he didn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
So what about performance anxiety? How do you deal with that? Because I'm sure one of you were like, I decided I don't want to go on tonight. How do you deal with it?
That doesn't occur.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it's just one of those things for me. Like, I don't necessarily dread going on stage. I think I dread the lead up to it most of the time. So if I have a gig on where I'm doing a lot of singing or whatever else, I always feel that the day before I've suddenly come down with this weird cold and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to sing very well, or I'm not going to be able to do this, that, the other. So I always freak out a little bit that way. But then once I've gotten on stage and once I'm actually playing or singing or whatever, it becomes better. It's natural. So I always know there's that light at the end of the tunnel of it. So it doesn't worry me too much.
So when you're,
I guess.
Go ahead, Corey.
Oh yeah. I guess in the past, for this sort of stuff, don't do it. But in the past, I was doing music theatre, and that was nerve-wracking. But that kind of ties in with the previous question, which is the advice someone gave me was, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And so so that's what I think of now to probably as to why I don't feel that way.
Wow, I've heard from Go ahead.
Sorry, with that musical theatre, man, how many gigs a week were you doing?
Oh, it'd just be a season run of shows of, say, 4 to 8, depending.
8 a week?
Probably twice a year. And that
8
was
a week
over
for 2 months?
No. This was amateur, not professional.
Mm.
Yeah, so it'd be over 2 weekends or during like Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah, so you do 8 in the space of 2 weekends?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so 4 shows a day.
So Wednesday to Sunday or Thursday to Sunday, something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, a matinee and a night time on Saturday night, and then a matinee on Sunday. So that's 3, and then either Friday and Thursday, and then the following weekend.
because that question is really relevant to someone who's on stage 4 times a day. The question of how do you pump yourself up? You know, would you have anxiety, or would you just go, oh boy?
Yeah, it was getting the nervous when I had laryngitis a couple of times, but you know, mum was awesome. Went to the doc, got some good stuff, and then fell in a heap 2 weeks later. So,
performance anxiety, I didn't know I had it until recently.
Wow.
So, but I think it's a very Australian thing to work through and not postpone, to work through something. And Australians, I don't know. I've travelled a bit, but I do know that it's a fairly Australian thing, and it could be all over the world. But Australian thing where if you're trucking through it and you're not 100%, everybody's got your back anyway. Like quietly, you know, the audience have your back, your bandmates have your back. It's a small country of 26 million people, and there's heaps of space, so we tend to look after each other a little bit. So we don't really compete with each other so much. We're quite supportive. We get jealous and we're envious, but there's still a mateship prevalent through the music industry anyway.
Oh yes, you do have to be supported with your other bandmates. But is there any time when outside of playing, do you get along? Like, do you get along with everyone in your band? Do you like get along with Corey or Ryan? Do you get along with Charlie? I mean, you have to get along because you're playing, but you're not like the Police who can't stand each other when they're playing, you know?
No, that wouldn't be in the band if the culture wasn't right.
Yeah.
And and everybody's got a best friend, you know? That's another thing that I think of a lot of the time. Everybody has a best friend. If you don't understand somebody, you may be looking at them through a different lens than someone else is. And that might be internal, not an external thing. So if you can address that as best you can mend a lot of fences before they even break, you know?
I like that answer. Someone wanted me to ask you, when in regards to pizza, do you get the same thing on your pizza? Who doesn't like pepperoni? Who doesn't like pineapple on their pizza here?
Yes, absolutely. Pineapple should not be on pizza. I'm sorry.
Cool.
That's it. I've said it. I could be out of the band tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're out of the podcast. I'm kidding.
Yep. I said it. There it is.
I'm joking. Yeah. So no disagreement. That's great. I'm so glad that you guys get along with your playing together. You're not, or you're just getting a coffee, whatever. That's great. So when you guys are playing in your venue and you're playing your song, you're playing like, you know, Wolf in the Hills or something. What do you do if your audience looks tired or bored during your performance? Or I guess you can say, Deon, that nobody looks tired or bored. They all look good.
I try harder. Yeah. I announce it's somebody's birthday. That tends to lift the mood. And we all sing happy birthday, and then I go into a banger. That works.
A banger? I'm from Canada. What's a banger? Remind me.
I don't really like using the word either. It's another word for hit, a hit song.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
Something that doesn't fail.
Or it's a cooked sausage in Australia.
Either
it's also a cooked sausage.
Both of which are popular.
Yeah. People love a cooked sausage.
That's funny.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, know all about that.
Corey does know about cooked sausages.
So
I think if the crowd's not into it, I mean, for me, it's sort of like, well, it doesn't matter seeing what the crowd are reacting to, but as long as we're having a great time, I think that always translates well. If we're nervous or we're all playing within ourselves, that's obvious as well. So if we're having a good time playing Wolves on stage, chances are we're going to look out and people are going to be digging it because we're having a good time and we're smiling because we're having a great time. So it makes it a lot easier that way.
To add to that, sometimes for me, I can't gauge the audience because you can think that they're not enjoying themselves and they come up after and say, "Man, that was great." You know, they're enjoying it internally as well. So I just try and get the vibe with the band first, and basically sort ourselves out, and then I'll happen to notice someone tapping their toes or they're getting up to dance or whatever, and then that just for me it kind of pushes it up that level again as far as audience participation, because it's a two-way street no matter what. And it was like Deon was saying,
I think you could invite them to sing a chorus, and I put that into the lyrics sometimes. I'll ask them to sing along. If that's working well, then I'll ask them to get on the stage. Sometimes they need an invitation. But also, if you pace, especially if you're playing at a venue where people are being conversational and they're not there to see a show so much, so you need to pace it right until they've got enough courage, or everybody's gotten to know each other in the room and they can be comfortable to let themselves go a little, or they're drunk enough.
Banged up. Banger. I love that word, banger. Well, in that case, okay, a few more questions, guys. And this one I like to ask, I'm used the word banger in it, if you don't mind. Can you describe your creative process when you write new bangers?
That's an interesting question. I don't think every song's going to be I can't say that word anymore. Okay. I regret saying it once. But yeah, I think when I write a song and it's good, I know it's good, and I'm excited. The first person I show will be my brother, and the next person that hears it is generally the producer. Probably the band now. The band, because we'll play it live. Charles is probably the next person to hear it at a duo gig in the past. But the Headwaters is going so well, I feel like I need to get back in the studio and have something to release in the next 12 months, which isn't a problem. I've got like 100 songs ready to go, but you've just got to record them.
So I've talked to many musicians, and even the top musicians that you hear that everyone knows about, there's still 100 or more songs that Prince, like he could, posthumously, he could release 10 more albums. The Beatles are releasing a song which Paul McCartney admitted was done with artificial intelligence. So saying, Deon, that you have 100 songs ready to go, which ones do you think will go on the next album? How do you know that Imperfection or Wolf in the Hills, how did you know that went on the album Headwaters? Like, how do you know? Like, is even the word Headwaters one of the songs? Like, usually people take part of the lyrics and that becomes the title of the album.
Yeah, Headwaters isn't mentioned at all in any of the songs.
Yeah.
But Headwaters is where the river starts, and that, it's a small drop, then it's a trickle, then it's a stream, then it's a river, then it goes to the ocean. It's like it's a concept. It's the need to express yourself. It's the means to do so, and it's a song. It's another song. It's an album. To jump in and take the journey. That's why it's called Headwaters. What was the question again?
Your creative process, and how do you know? Oh, yeah, and why the why Headwaters? How do you Headwaters is in any of the songs? So why I call it river?
Well, because a river is you picture the river, right? But if I say Headwaters, you picture where the river starts.
Yeah.
But you can't help but think of the rest of the river. Like when I say river, you just picture a river from bank to bank. It could be scenery, but if you picture the word Headwaters, then it's a drip, it's a stream, it's up in the mountains, it's coming down. It's more of a story than a word.
Yeah. Why did Headwaters have that many songs on? Like, for instance, Meteora by Linkin Park. They wanted to get, I think they did Meteora 10 or 20 years ago when they first started, and they couldn't get 13 songs on there. So the song they left out was called Lost, which they released as a single last year, but it was supposed to be on the Meteor album. Instead of 13 songs, it was 12. So Headwaters, is there a possibility that there was a few songs that you couldn't get on Headwaters, or did they tell you you can't have more than 12 songs on Headwaters, or did you choose that many songs?
No, it's all personal.
Okay.
No one else is telling me what to do. That we aren't signed or anything. So it's all personal. I wanted to get it out as soon as I could. I had the money to do the 10. I think see how it goes. It's going really well. Thank you so much for having a listen to it, and thanks for showing it to your audience.
Yeah,
really appreciate it. Yeah,
we love it. We love Wolf in the Hills. We love Headwaters. We love those songs on there. Yeah, we love your music. I fell in love with the music. Yeah,
thanks
it's great.
so much, Chris. Yeah,
you're very welcome. One last question is: I was talking to many musicians, and they said that when they write a song, they usually either, for instance, one musician said that you just have to give them a title and they'll write a song around it. Another one says, well, we write the lyrics and then do the music. Others say we write the music and then we put the lyrics to it. What do you think is the best way to write a song?
The way that gets it finished.
And do any of you have any collaborative effort? Do any of you say, well, I don't like that line, let's put this line in?
No, it's mostly Deon. It's
I don't know how that would go down.
it would be interesting. Like,
yeah.
But you have a particular idea and framework, and then it comes to us, and then we see what we can do with it in terms of how close we can get to this idea.
Sounds like I'm very arrogant. I'm sorry, guys, but I think about it all day, every day, pretty much. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I'm so naive in the area of songwriting. It's yeah. I spend all my time playing rather than writing.
Like I really enjoy the fact that we don't necessarily have a big bit of input in the lyrical side of it, or even in some of the musical sides too, because it gives that freedom to it. Like when I've written songs and released stuff in the past for my own work, I found it probably a bit too overwhelming with thoughts of which way do I go, how do I do things. So being able to go, here's the structure of stuff, here's what we need to do your thing to it, I found that really enjoyable.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah. Well, I know that, Deon, you have to go. I know you mentioned that earlier, and we're going to end the stream right now. And thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Chris,
and we look forward
thank
to
you so much for having us.
I
had a great time. It was good chatting with you guys again. Yeah. We'll see you next week at rehearsal.
So let's end the stream. Okay, guys. See ya. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris.